Hey, you should have told me that you got in the conversation. I didn't know.
Oh, I don't want to bother you because I'm always late, so I figured you're probably doing something.
No, I was just sitting here waiting, but I don't get a notification.
Oh. I was just sitting here watching fucking Twitter stuff about the Democratic Party and stuff, so it doesn't really matter.
What do you think is going to happen? Do you think it's, we don't know what's going on?
Do you believe the polls that they keep showing?
I don't believe anything.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. It's like, even when like I watch Fox News, I obviously like, I'm more pro-Trump than Biden at this point, but I'm always like, like, do I really believe what they're even putting out? Because it's so like left, right, you know, it's just, it swings one way, obviously on whatever channel you go to. So it's hard to decipher the truth, right?
I don't even think we could decipher the truth after the election.
I know, right? At this point, right? We don't even know if that's going to be the truth. So are we going to find out the night or we have to wait?
No, we're going to find out later. Well, the idea is that in some counties or states, they get to a certain number where they know that, okay, if Trump got this number, there's no way Biden can win, no matter how many more votes he gets. So then they tell you. But like some places like Pennsylvania are going to be counting until 10 days after the election. So they throw a wrench in it. But let me tell you one thing. I found this channel that is hilarious. It's called they're called the Hodge Twins.
Oh, I know who they are. Yeah.
Yeah, but the channel's called Conservative Twins. Have you heard of it?
No, I never heard of it.
My God, it's hilarious. I've been having the time of my life this week watching some of that.
On YouTube?
Yeah, it's amazing. They killed it. It's so funny.
Really?
Yeah, they do like a video every few days about, and because a lot of the stuff going on is from the BLM movement and stuff like that, right? But
right.
They're black, so they can talk about it.
They can rip it. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
they can talk about it from all perspectives and stuff, so they can say whatever they want. So it's really it's really funny to watch. And
I'll have to. I know who they are. I didn't know they started a channel like that. That's like probably pretty funny.
Actually, they have great hats. I actually want one of them. They have like the American flag on the. Anyway, so let's get on topic with our stuff. The first thing I was going to ask you, you know what I was thinking about? I was actually watching Vlad TV just before you came on. Do you know Vlad TV?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Vlad has this guy on recently who's from the Detroit mob, which I've never heard of before. Well, I've heard of them, but I never knew much about them.
Yeah, right.
And I was thinking while I was watching, I was like, Nick seems like the kind of guy who would know mob people. He's Italian from New Jersey. So I was like, why don't I ask Nick? Do you know? Did you when you grew up? Were there like mob people or no specifics? But like, is that the area you grew up in? I know that family in New Jersey must have been broken down by then.
So, growing up, my father's like a real guinea, like like real typical Italian guy. But he's not like a street hustler Italian guy. He's got brains. He's an electronic engineer. So. Oh, wow. He wasn't like in that crowd, but my dad didn't like I'm not trying to throw him under the bus, but he wasn't like making legit money his entire life. You know what I mean? My uncle that passed away on my dad's side, he was a shiesty guy. He was from Brooklyn, and just like I remember answering, like when we had landlines, I remember answering the phone and Uncle Barry would call. Uncle Barry would be like, put your dad on. I got a deal. And I'm like, what do you got, Uncle Barry? He's like, I got TVs coming in tomorrow. And I'm like, oh yeah, how many? He's like, 50. I got the 40-inch, 50-inch. What do you want for your room? And I'm like, whatever you got. I'm like, give me one. So my Uncle Barry used to get stuff off the back of the truck, and he like made a living on betting horses. Like that was like, he made millions of dollars betting horses. That's what he did. Literally like sitting on his couch, studying horses all day long. That's all he did, bro. And sit on the couch. He died doing that. Literally just died betting on horses on his couch. His wife came in one day, my aunt, and he used to lean on the couch, and the TV would be right here. This is literally his spot every day. And he has a little notepad. And his wife came in one day, and he was literally just conked out dead on the couch. That's literally how he died, though, was betting on horses. Wow. And he died of old age. I mean, just literally, he was like in his 80s. Like I think he was like 89 or 88, but that's literally his life, was just betting on horses and getting like backdoor stuff off trucks. Like, because these guys with, the city, their stuff's stolen all the time. There's guys that are pushing stuff out of back of Best Buy. And like at the time, it was like Nobody Beats the Wiz, and like, all those stores, electronic stores were crazy back then. So I remember my dad like doing all those deals with him, and that was mob stuff to my dad, like in my level. But I had a lot of friends that were like sons or daughters of big crime families, but I didn't know like their families that well. I knew them. I didn't know like their mom and dads well, but they were very. I mean, their family was. That's all it was. I mean, that their money legit was crime money. Mob meets crime. So I mean, if anyone wants to slice it up anyway, it's mob means they don't do anything legal. You know what I mean? It's all shyster stuff. But were they killing people? I don't think so at that point. Were they, getting black market stuff? Were they probably moving drugs, money? Like loan sharking was, I don't know if anyone knows what loan sharking is, but when you loan money on the street, and that was like the biggest business back then when I was a kid. I remember deals like that always happening, but that was just loaning money though, not to the bank. I mean, that was as crazy as it got.
Do you guys have a lot of Albanians now in that area?
In New York, in Queens, there's a section of Queens that's like those Albanians are nuts.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're like Muslim.
They'll cut your toes off and shit, and and you know what I mean, like pull your eyelashes out with nut. You know what I mean, like they're nuts. Like you don't fuck with those guys. You know what I mean? There's a whole section of them. Yeah, I mean, I like them. They're hardcore. They're crazy. They're fun. I had a lot of Albanian friends growing up, and especially in the club scene. They were all over the clubs. I mean, they went out every weekend. So,
what's a fascinating? Well, a couple of things you talked about which were interesting. One is this betting on horses.
Yeah.
So I looked into this a lot in undergrad because I had a professor who was an economist whose partner actually left academia to professionally gamble on horse racing in China, because in China they have the biggest prizes. So the prize is so big that if you use statistical programming to estimate the likelihood of an individual horse to win, you have enough of a prize that you can actually win. So it works. So he made millions. This guy became very wealthy.
Money. Yeah.
He was quite well known. I forgot what his name was. One of them was named Sharp or Thorn. I can't remember. Maybe it was Thorn. But anyway, that was one interesting thing.
The horse racing was it was so fucking intense. Like my uncle used to stress. I was having anxiety at like 10 years old from him because he would scream. I mean, and their apartment in Brooklyn, dude, was like, it's small. It's probably 1,000 square feet. You know what I mean? And he's on the top of his lungs at like 80 years old, like turning purple on the couch because he's screaming at the television so hard. You know what I mean? Probably had a heart attack for all I know. You know what I mean? So it was intense though, but the way he spoke about horses was another language to me. You know what I mean? Like the things that he would bring up about like this horse, that horse, this jockey, that jockey, the trainer, what that horse is taking. And it goes deep, how it's fed, how it's trained. Like it's very deep. You know what I mean? It's very deep.
And gambling, like becoming addicted to gambling have you ever had an experience with that?
So I wouldn't say I was addicted to gambling, but I definitely liked it for a period of time, especially when I used to go out and get fucked up and drink and do drugs and stuff. I could sit there all day and night and play, as long as I had money, obviously. But I mean, I started out with simple games like blackjack and stuff, but then roulette was just like the biggest hard on for me because you didn't know what the fucking expect. You know what I mean? It was fun every time. Blackjack was. And poker, it just was such a slow, you know what I mean? There was no rise from it. I like that rush and that, oh fuck, you know what I mean? Roulette, gave me a hard on all the time. But blackjack and poker was fun. I mean, I had a lot of fun playing them.
So I have a sort of funny story from my graduate school when I was doing my master's degree in the first year. I was very low on cash. I had a scholarship actually to the master's degree, and they gave me a stipend every month. But right. I was working also at the university as a research assistant and managing a lab, but I was very low on cash all the time. So I remember one weekend, I was maybe 21 years old. I had very low amounts of money. I had 40 pounds in my bank account or something like that. And I lived next door to a major casino in central London that I walked by every day. I was like a nerd. I worked so hard at school. I would walk by this casino every day.
I love how you call yourself a nerd.
Yeah, I was a nerd. People would be having fun, and I would be isolating and working hard. And one day I'm coming by, I said,
God bless.
I have $40. There's a roulette table inside there. I could get maybe 80, or I could lose it. and I need the 80. It was something I wanted to buy, but I couldn't afford it with 40. I was like, fuck, I could have, this for food, and then I could buy that. So I went into the casino, first time in my life, went straight to the roulette table, put the $40 on it, lost all of it. I put on red or whatever, went on the wrong one. I had a very bad reaction. I was like, this is horrible. Now I can't eat tonight. I went back to my apartment, and I never gambled in my life again. I was
traumatized.
That was a bad experience. But I have friends, actually, I don't have any friends who are straight up gamblers, but I have friends. Actually, it's funny because I have 2 friends that this happened to. So you know what Forex is, right? Trading on currencies.
Yeah.
So I have friends that for some reason got into Forex thinking that they were being like investors.
Oh God.
Both of them became addicts, lost.
Yeah, but did they become like Forex addicts because of the internet or because they really liked it? Because some people are genuinely they study it and they research it and but some guys just do it because they see big wins,
And that's what they were thinking. They were thinking there's big wins.
Okay.
In Forex, it is a little complicated, but when you do equity analysis, you actually study a company and you try to figure out what is the company going to be valued in the future. With
right.
Forex, you don't use this kind of thing called fundamental analysis, which is what you use for equities.
Yeah.
What the Forex stuff is this thing called technical analysis, which is actually not scientific. It's like looking at a graph and saying, oh, the graph went up here. Since it went up there, this Fibonacci sequence or Japanese candlestick method tells me that it must go down next. So they were doing that, both of them. I was like, dude, this is pseudoscience.
I remember all those terms.
You cannot just tell from a graph what the next move is going to be. It's called a random walk. Anyway, there's a lot of things in finance. So I was telling these guys, dude, this is not going to work. Eventually, start losing money. One of the guys, every time I would meet him, he'd be like, dude, I'm up 1% today, 2%. I'm like, how are you up 1% every time I meet you? If you make 10% a year, you can have a mutual fund. I'll invest with you. That's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
1% every time I meet you, you must be making 50, 60% a year. But you must be losing.
Yeah, so he'd be down 10, but up 1.
But he wouldn't tell you he was down 10, right? He would be like, no, I'm up 1, I'm up 2, everything's going great.
He's really -9.
Yeah. No, he lost all his money, twice.
Did he really? He lost it all?
Yeah, I lost 20,000. The other guy, I think he lost hundreds of thousands.
My girlfriend's best friend, Tim, was a professional poker player. He's over our house every week. He just got married. He has a kid. But he's an accountant now. He actually works for his family's accounting firm. But he made a living off of being a poker player. He was actually on the World Series of Poker. And stupid, smart guy. Super, obviously he's intelligent. But when it comes to cards, dude, seeing that in person, and I'm just an average player. I'm not a professional player. So he would, literally smoke me. It's actually next level. It's like a pro bodybuilder versus a guy doing his first show type of shit. You know what I mean? It's there's so many levels between it, but he cashed out really hard, really good. Not millions, but in 6 figures, high 6 figures, multiple times playing poker. And then he kind of got away from it because he has a kid now and he's doing the accounting thing, but he made a legit living off that for a while. He traveled all over the place. He played hardcore, man. Very into it. That's the only person I know that's that was that type of level though. I have a lot of friends that are degenerates though, for sure, that play online every day and gamble on every basketball game, every football game, every baseball game. Bad.
You know what I was about to gamble on, honestly, 2 weeks ago? I found a website you can gamble on the presidential election. I was about to bet.
Stop. Really?
My wife stopped me, but I was definitely going to bet. I was like, there are 4-1 odds. I know this is going to go.
Yeah, there's probably pretty good odds on that.
There were good odds a couple of weeks ago. That's very true. But
I bet on UFC fights that I would just for fun. I'll throw a couple $100 and just for just to make it a little more exciting, but no more of that degenerate stuff. When I used to get, either drunk or I would do drugs and go out and party, that's the time I was more times than others that I'm going to gamble, especially if we went to Atlantic City, New Jersey, which is an hour from my house. If we get wasted somewhere, oh, let's go gamble. And then it's we're a day and a half later and we're all broke. You know what I mean? So, and Vegas gets you every time. That's just it's inevitable when you go there. But
poker is a real skill game. It's
very, very. My friend Tim, I was telling you about the stuff that he even explained to me. I'm just the way they don't really count cards because obviously that's hard to do because they use multiple decks and stuff. But they have their own method to the madness. You know what I mean? They have their theories on stuff and they play on those rules all the time. You know what I mean? They're set on those rules. So it's interesting to listen to, though. It's very interesting.
It's actually funny. One of the guys I was telling you about, the technical analysis guys, actually, I should send him this video so he knows what I was talking about. But anyway,
probably crack up.
He's moved on now to poker, where he's now just playing like a very high stake game.
Online though, or like
no, high stake games in the Middle East, like once a week. They play these like really exclusive games.
See, I have no problem with someone playing in person. Obviously, as long as they have money to afford it. I don't like the guys that play online because that to me is just it's a computer. I don't.
Yeah, why would you do that? That's a weird addiction. That's a weird.
That's a weird addiction to me. Yeah, like I can kind of understand the in-person thing because the interaction's a lot of fun, especially when you go with friends. It's like a good night out, you know, instead of like going out and doing other shit. Obviously, if you can afford to do it, I agree with it. But there's be worse things you could be doing. You know what I mean? So.
By the way, there's sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I saw this video from Larry Wheels, which I guess is a few weeks old, which really impressed me. He had this video about like overcoming his addiction.
Oh man, that's so funny you brought that up. I was going to ask you about that because I saw it a long time ago about the porn thing.
Yeah.
And it kind of registered. I was watching it in my den, so it was like kind of weird. It was just on in my house, like playing, like around my speakers. So my girlfriend's like, "What is this shit?" And I'm like, "Hold on." So I wanted to like hear what he had to say, and I thought it was going to be a prank. Like I thought he was going to be. You thought the same thing, right? I thought he was going to be at the end and be like, "Oh, I'm joking, sorry." But then it was like, I'm like, is he serious or is he patrolling people?
No, he's serious. He's serious.
Because then I saw some video the other day on his story that he bought a car because his addiction. He bought like an Audi or something because he overcame his addiction to porn. He was able to save money.
Exactly. He was saying he's spending all his money on those.
You think that was a legit thing or is it just trying to get views?
No, I think it was because you could see how uncomfortable he was in his face. I don't think if you're watching.
Yeah, he was not looking at the camera. His eyes roll over the place.
Very uncomfortable. Yeah.
So you read that.
Yeah, totally. And I think he put it out there because he's like, it's interesting, you know, this also is something that I was never that attracted to. I
hate porn. I never was a porn person.
Same, yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say I hate porn, but I don't watch it. I can care less.
1 hour porn video. Like, you know, there's people that watch the whole
Honestly, I don't know. This is kind of like personal, but if I turn on porn, I'm always like, I just feel weird sitting there.
Just get out of there. It's like a crime.
I'm like, it's like a very dark time. It's not a happy time for me if I had to go to that route. You know what I mean? I feel like it's for like losers. Like, I'm like, not that I'm making fun of people, but like, if you have to resort to porn, like, what the fuck, dude? Like, all the time? I get it. A guy needs his fix once in a while, especially there's a lot of horny guys out there. I get it. But like, have like a girl send you a photo at least or something. You know what I mean? Like, or your girlfriend or something. Like, why have to watch some random people fuck? It's just weird.
This is okay. So we're on the same page about getting into it. Like, I understand they clearly developed some kind of crazy addiction because I knew a guy in LA who had like such a severe porn addiction that he could not like. He had he had like a sober living. Like, he didn't have a phone with him. He would not carry a phone when he met with us. He couldn't like. He had a tracker
because of the porn.
Yeah, it was like, I guess he told us. He had like some support network or something, and he had like
okay, I get it, gotcha.
I know it's a real addiction where they have like, you need to go look at porn, but getting into it is the hard part. Like when I was in high school, I had some friends who were like watching porn for hours every day. I'm like, what are you doing?
My friends used to invite each other over to like their house that didn't have anybody there, like parents, to watch porn together. Yeah. Like that's what my friends used to do at that age. They're like, oh, we're gonna go to Joe's because his parents aren't home. We can watch porn there. And I'm like, wait. What the fuck are you guys doing? Like, that's like, I'm pretty open about sexuality and stuff, but like to go sit in a room together and watch porn at someone's house because their parents aren't home. Like what?
In like 8th, 7th grade.
Yeah, it was weird, dude. And I'm like,
all around the world.
It's like, it was very awkward. And then obviously with cell phone, things got really weird. Now people do it everywhere, you know?
Well, like for example, Big Lenny, who's a friend of mine, he's so addicted to porn. Hopefully now he's being able to overcome it.
Stop, really?
Oh, that's Lenny's addiction. It's porn.
Stop.
No, you didn't know about that?
I didn't know that. I didn't know it.
Severe porn addiction, specifically to obviously transsexual porn, but it's very powerful. Like
I thought that was a ongoing.
No, he's totally that guy. He's
wow. I feel bad now. Fuck. I didn't know it was like that.
No,
And then Larry video was like, it really threw me off because I'm like, you have a girlfriend who seems pretty cool. They seem like they get along. So it's like, why? Not that like, why are you coming to YouTube to talk about this and confess it? But like, why isn't, I don't know. Not that maybe his girlfriend is helping him. I'm just saying it was weird that he even went public with it. I don't know what was.
sometimes people have to out. I feel like sometimes people have to out themselves to be accountable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They want other people to hold them accountable to themselves.
Especially because he put so much out there already. You feel like he just like he had to do it because it looked so uncomfortable. It looked very weird.
Yeah, it looked like he suffered. I was impressed because the thing is, anytime someone like even Jordan Peterson, who's one of my favorite speakers, admits to some personal difficulty they had, like addiction, it's it takes a lot. Because
I guess it's no different than anything else, right? I'm just kind of looking at it like that.
Yeah, that's
like,
the thing. That we're just confused because like gambling and porn doesn't really.
It's so regular, yeah.
Exactly. Whereas we should talk about TNFT now, maybe because this is somewhat relevant.
Yeah, because I didn't know you were actually. I mean, maybe you told me you were testing it, but I didn't know if you were gonna like for real, like go for it.
No, I texted you about it because I was like, maybe because you've tried a lot of opiates.
Yeah, I told you about who I knew.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We talked about that,
Yeah.
Which was really interesting, which we won't mention, but very interesting.
Yeah.
To TNFT. So no, the thing is, honestly, Nick, sometimes people comment on my channel. They're like, you nerd, have you ever tried Trenbolone or whatever? People don't realize I'm not talking about anything on my channel that I haven't tried. I've tried something very extensively. If I ever do talk about something that I haven't tried, I say so in the video.
Yeah.
Like, I've never tried this. I've read the research. This is what I've read. But tianeptine, so basically I have a consultation client who's addicted to tianeptine. And I was trying to help him get off it. He on his own used ibogaine, developed some kind of package to, like an SSRI, some kind of thing combined together to make him feel better. But he went back to the tianeptine a week and a half later. After going through, he had no withdrawals.
Wow.
Ibogaine took all the withdrawals away.
But he had it in his present. I mean, he had it in his house or whatever.
No, it was, I don't know, but it was a mental obsession. And the thing that he described to me is he said, it makes me feel pro-social. Like I feel so much easier time interacting with people.
Yeah.
And my thing is, personally, everyone's brain chemistry is a little different. It's not easy for me to get addicted to opiates. Like I've tried a lot of drugs because when I was younger, I wanted to see how would my mind be different if I'm trying some psychoactive drug. Will I see the world differently? I was trying to see, can you gain wisdom from changing your mindset?
That was my biggest downfall, though, is the way that feeling.
Exactly. But they call those kind of people psychonauts. So for that purpose, I've tried a Dilaudid pill, morphine pill, oxycontin, every one of those pills. I don't really know a difference about them. I can feel.
No, hold on. So like OxyContin, like a blue or whatever you want to call them.
I haven't tried a whole blue, but I never tried a hard.
I'm saying, but have you tried them?
Yes.
At all? You didn't feel the euphoria? Yeah, rock cassettes, whatever you want to. You didn't feel.
You feel the opiate and you feel the opiate, obviously the itchiness and then the dopamine rush. And
that used to feel good, and then once you get into like a day 3 of it, it starts to feel like, oh shit, I'm on drugs, and then you get over the hump where you're like, I have to have it. Where it's like all the euphoria is gone, and you're like, now I can't even be myself unless I do have it. You know what I mean?
Wait. So I wanted to ask you something about that. Then, when you get to that stage with opiates, do you ever get high anymore?
No, I mean. You do, but now because my tolerance would just climb extremely fast on those things. Some people are a little slower than others, like especially if you're a smaller person. At the time when I was doing them, I was a 285 pound like jacked bodybuilder for pain, and I was taking them for pain. Then it became, oh, this is recreational now. I'm going to go out this weekend, so I'm going to pop a couple more. My tolerance would just climb every week because I would go above and beyond just for like one night a little bit, just to be a little more higher. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I would have to like jam a bunch of pills in a small window in order to feel something. You know what I mean? To get to that level I used to get at. And then like the next couple of days proceeding after that, I would have to like, let's say my one pill every couple hours would be like 1.5 now, because now like I jacked it up so much that one night just to have fun. And it really, you don't feel the same. Like you never get that like crazy high you get when you first use them. It never hits that again. I mean, that's gone. So I think the receptors at that point is saturated and you're not even going to feel it, but
it's incredible. My opiate receptors downregulate so quickly compared to any other receptor. Like,
it's weird.
Take an opiate, like say I take something like, I mean, I don't do this often, but say I took some kind of pill 8 hours before. If I take it at 8 hours later, there will be no dopamine rush.
Oh, wow.
I'll just get more sedated. I'll just keep
Oh,
getting
wow.
sedated, but I won't get. So that's, I guess, why it wasn't natural from.
You never got hooked on it because of
Oh,
that.
thank God, thank God. But also, I
It's a
knew it was
blessing.
dangerous, so I was always very careful.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at the time when I was using them, I didn't want to be using them, but
No, you
I
got
wasn't trying.
you had the pain, so you got into it sort of by accident, some kind of way.
Yeah, and then I use that as an excuse for after a while. After a while, I was like, I wasn't even helping myself because I was like, I wasn't going to therapy anymore. I wasn't trying to help it. I was making it work. I would just train on top of masking the pain. So I wasn't trying to avoid it. You know what I mean? So at the time, you get to a point where you're just like, you're fed up and, you know, you're just like, oh, I'm just going to use these. This is the only way out. You know what I mean? And it's just an excuse at that point.
No, I mean, Nick, that's what really struck me about you when we did our first interview, which really impressed me because I actually have a family, you know, I don't talk too much private stuff on this YouTube channel, but I have a family member who was addicted to opiates. And this person addicted to the strongest opiates except for, what's that? The fentanyl.
Fentanyl, yeah.
Fentanyl, but everything else. So, you know, this person has serious pain also. And I tried to work with this person so many times in my life because, you know, I tried to like get the person to admit that you're using a little bit more than what you need for the pain. Like, because I know you're getting high and they can't admit it because there's that safety guard. If I say I'm in pain, you can't really tell me that what I'm doing is wrong. Yeah. So you could have continued to protect yourself that way, but you didn't, which really impressed.
And trust me, I wish I mean, it's not that I enjoy being sober. I mean, no one really enjoys being sober, you know, like everyone has like a little bit of like craziness in them where they're like, I like to have a little buzz of a drink, whatever it is, smoking weed, whatever your high is, everyone has it, especially somebody like me who is an extremist with bodybuilding, extreme with my body dysmorphia, extreme with everything I did. You know, I hit the gas full throttle no matter what I do. So when I got to that point and then I realized like, the ante kept going up and it kept going up. And then like my soul searching for more pills wasn't happening. And then I'm like, why am I spending my hardworking money on this? And I'm like, because now like, you know, your insurance covers X amount a month. Now you're going to buy some from Joe because you need to keep feeding your pain.
Yeah, you have no choice at that point.
And then you're like, you have no choice at that point. So now you're like, what the fuck am I doing? You know?
And it cost a lot at that point to get those pills from other people or?
I mean, yeah, I mean, there was times where I got them cheaper, but for the most part, they were $20 to $25 a pill. I mean, holy shit. And I'm going through, oh my God, bro.
Yeah, I know you don't even
30, 25, 30 pills a day at one point.
Wow.
So, you know, and you're prescribed 2, sometimes 3 a day, you know, depending on what dose they give you. So just like, it was disgusting after a while. And you're like, I could have bought a fucking $1 million home. I could have bought you know, you start going through your mind and you're just like, what am I doing? Like, this is disgusting. And somehow you're making the money to do it. You don't know how the money's coming from, but you have credit cards, you got this, you got that, you're selling this, you're working hard, and you're busting your ass working too to feed that. That's the fucked up part. Yeah. You know?
And then, now you were mostly using Roxy's?
So they gave me, OxyContin for my script, not Roctasets, and then I would buy whatever, you know, Percocets. I would buy whatever someone had, honestly, just to keep me from being, you know, a sedated like mess, you know, and not be able to be functional. Luckily, that didn't go on for like years upon years. That was at the end of like my partying days. You know what I mean? So at that point, I was kind of like, I was already through all the bodybuilding shit. I was already coming to an end. Like everything was kind of like peaking. So like that was just like the last bit of my drug run as a kid, you know, as I call myself a kid. You know, I wasn't an adult yet, so I wasn't like growing up yet. And then once like I got through that period, I was like, all right. And it was easier for me to do it at that point. I think if that happened in the beginning of my drug run, like going out, if I started, let's say I wasn't doing like ecstasy like normal people would do instead of, you know, if I was doing prescription pills, I'd probably have been like, who knows where, you know what I'm saying? So it was at the end of like, I was already burnt out at that point is what I'm saying. You know, I was over getting high. It wasn't fun. My body was shot. My mind was shot. And it just was, at that point, it was dwindling down to nothing. So, and then you're like, you know, then you see who you're surrounded by. All that just starts affecting you, you know?
It's a very dark place.
Yeah, it's a very dark place. Yeah.
Now you made 3 episodes on anxiety and depression recently. What inspired you to publish those?
So I've spoken about my issues, but I never was kind of like very full transparent about the whole story. And a lot of people, the only time I really was transparent was with you. I never really sat and talked about everything. And there was like bits and pieces online everywhere, but I honestly, dude, I get more messages about anxiety and depression probably more than any bodybuilding question. And it's pretty scary that how many people, and listen, I'm not claiming I'm a therapist. I'm not claiming I'm a doctor when I go on there. I'm just talking about like real life problems and real life things I did and went through that triggered me to go to darker or become better. You know, I wanted to talk about those two different levels of it. And I never sat there and just was telling my whole story. And I just felt like, especially this year, there's been more than ever questions about anxiety and depression because of probably the pandemic and everything. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start doing more series things, you know, each week about different topics because, and I want to start off with anxiety and depression because that's like the most common thing I get talked about because I was open about it those few times and people feel like they can like condone me about stuff and they come to me about questions about it or I don't want to use this. I don't want to use that. I'm never doing this. And I'm like, no, you have to kind of like go through the process. You know, you have to just at least try. And you know that. I mean, this is your expertise. So don't be anti anything. And I was like that in the beginning. I was like, no, that doesn't work because so-and-so said so. Or, oh, my friend did that. It doesn't work. And like, you can't be like that. And I think I just needed to get it off my chest. Like kind of like almost like a Larry Wheels thing. You know, I just wanted to like be transparent about it all and tell the story. And hopefully it helps a couple of people, you know?
I think it's very helpful. And also, you know, I feel like adversity builds wisdom in people. And even having mental adversity, especially mental adversity, depression, anxiety, if you learn how to overcome it, you develop some kinds of wisdom about being a person that are really important. And what you're talking about people having constraints first is really interesting. So like someone will come to you and say, I have anxiety, but I don't want to do this. I won't take this. I will not do this. I will not do this. I will not change my lifestyle. I won't sleep more. Nothing. But
it's funny. It's funny though. It's crazy.
That's how it is. Or someone will come, you know, with the SSRIs, I get this the most actually.
Yeah, all the time.
SSRIs, yeah. I hear you causes heart problems or whatever. And, you know, I don't actually think there's anyone who's read more papers about SSRIs. That's
what I'm saying. You know everything.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried them on and off for years, and it's just, but they're not the only thing. There are many other drugs that are useful, but like we talked about last time, the propranolol, which turned out to be useful for that. Yeah. Acute incident.
Yeah, it's major difference. I mean,
but anxiety and depression is a real thing. We live in a different kind of world now where we interact with each other in different kinds of, imagine this, in the way we evolved, we would be in tribes. Like Nick, you would be part of my tribe, you'd be my cousin or something.
Yeah,
we'd be hanging out every day. Boys would be boys, you would be with your friends, your one would be there, you'd be part of solidarity, community. We don't have community anymore. We're online, we get negative.
That's a very good point.
Negative energy here or there. As we get older as men, we end up isolating because we're not supposed to be making new friends. We're built to be in tribes.
Yeah, everyone's just, I think everyone's, obviously, like you said, everyone's more apart than anything. No one's, I mean, exactly. People aren't like together like they used to be. I mean, not that long ago, I remember being with friends more often. And then obviously you get older, like you said, and then people go into relationships, people go take jobs, they move away and you have new friends, you know, a lot of things happen. So, but the thing is, I thought my life was going to be that forever though. Like I was convinced I'm not going to be that guy that becomes lonely and has no friends and is solitude. And here I am doing exactly what I thought. Not that I'm anti what I'm doing right now, but it's funny though, because I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. I'm going to still have herds of friends over every day. But then like you change though. You really do though. You really don't want to be around all that all the time because you want to focus on yourself or whatever you're doing for yourself or your lady or your family. You know, you're like, I don't want to be around 20 dudes all day, you know, like it's weird
to make new male friends as an adult.
It's hard. It's so hard.
Like you don't really want to. It's like, I don't really want to know a new friend. I don't trust
you. Like, I'll call you once in a while.
Build on this very slowly, but you know,
I'm not insulting our friendship at all, but it's funny though. I have more friends like yourself who doesn't live by me. And you guys are more my friends and people I live by.
Yeah, that's the other weird thing.
Is it like that for you too, a little bit?
Sometimes I talk to people in the Middle East more than I'm talking to people in the U.S., especially.
It's so weird. It's like some of my best friends that I probably hung out with maybe on two hands, you know. They're some of my best friends though. And like, I talk to you probably more than I talk to anyone I don't even live by anymore. You know what I'm saying? And it's not even that much. It's like I say, we talk all day like girls or something. We don't chatterbox, but we catch up and we have these conversations, you know, and it's like, that's more than I do with people around me. And it's very bizarre. Things have changed so much in that sense.
And with all these changes that our brains weren't developed for, we end up with these, especially anxiety, but also depression, you know, and it's interesting in bodybuilding. One of the things I was going to talk to you about today, you know, obviously Luke Sando passed away as well before, but Keone Pearson pulled out of thinking, I mean, everyone thinks he's going to win the Olympia, I think. That's the impression, if he could get his back dry.
Now listen, I'm not coming from everyone thinks I'm like best friends with PJ, which I am. I'm very close with PJ, but I still see it from all sides. And listen, I'm not saying when I made a video about when Keone left PJ, I didn't even take PJ's side. I was kind of like a little bit mad that PJ even went out and said anything about Black Lives Matter or even said anything about what was going on at the time. I think it was bad timing. And I even told him that. I said, I'm like, why would you even, you're a business owner. Don't even, I understand you want to voice yourself, but there's no point even putting an opinion out about that. It's not going to benefit you in any way. You know, it's just going to cause more problems. So when Keone walked away, I messaged Keone personally and I said to him, I said, listen, Keone, like, I don't know you from a hole in the wall, but I'm like, I think you're making a mistake. I'm like, PJ wasn't trying to, you know, target you or your demographic. He has all the best intentions in the world. Sometimes his words kind of get, you know, misconstrued and things happen for accident. But I'm like, I don't think you should walk away from what you have with that guy because you're not going to find that. That relationship they had was very deep, man. I mean, they were like, I'm not putting Keone's business out there, but people know he's a very insecure person. And PJ worked very hard on building up his confidence. Like there's a lot of YouTube videos on the Blackstone channel that they did covering his first Classic Physique Olympia. And he was talking about it in there, how it wasn't his body wasn't the hardest part. It was building his mind. And Keone's mind is just not where you think his body should be. Like, you know what I'm saying? He sees himself as like the body dysmorphia is like another level. You know what I mean? And PJ said that was the hardest thing to build up. Like that was getting him in shape was easy. And when he left PJ, I was like, oh boy. Cause like, not that I'm not knocking where he went. I'm not knocking the people he went with, the company, but I just know the connection's not going to be there because that guy lives in Canada. Let's be honest. You know what I mean?
Does he live in Canada?
Yeah, Dorian Hamilton. Yeah, they're
Dorian. I'm talking about Gas.
Yeah, HD Muscle. Yeah, and then you know Gas was in Texas, and then Dorian is coaching him too. I think still, right? I think Dorian is the kid.
Yeah.
So he's not going to have that human interaction like you were talking about, where PJ flew him down. Kid stayed in his house. PJ like looked after him like he was his kid, and I know like. It's not like Dorian's coaching sucks or he's bad or anything. It's just that Dorian doesn't do that with Keone. I know he doesn't, you know, and PJ did that with him because PJ doesn't coach people full time and he had the time to do that. So in other words, I kind of like predict
PJ on the podcast. If I ever could, I'd love to.
He would 100% come on here. He would love to talk. He's a chatter.
After I asked you about that question, otherwise
we talk every single day. We've been bodybuilding friends for like since I was a kid, you know, since I was 18 years old, we knew each other, you know, so, but we didn't get really close until like 4 or 5 years ago. After our careers were over, we only had the same group of friends. We always had the same friends, you know, but we were always respectful of each other. We always had a lot of the same coaches. We worked around on the same people, but we never became like boys till after bodybuilding, which is kind of funny, but it's actually kind of started because of when I was going through all my anxiety and depression, he was too, and we were kind of like helping each other. That's where it all started. But I was upset when Keone left because I was like, oh man, this is not going to turn out good. And then when I saw the way he looked at Chicago, I felt like something was all over his face. Like there was answers there. I was like, something's off. I'm like, he doesn't look happy. And I had 2 clients in that show backstage that said Keone is like in the corner with his head down. He's like, not himself, they said. They just said Keone looks off. They're like, I think something's wrong with him. And I'm like, no, the kid's fine. I'm like, he's probably just tired. And like, then he comes out with that video saying he didn't want to do the Chicago show. He said he was going to quit that show.
Exactly.
So that was weird to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like and then he made another video with Fouad. Did you watch his podcast? So he talks about Flex Wheeler. So it's kind of funny because I'm not knocking.
Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah.
Flex Wheeler was his first coach that left him hanging at his first show, and PJ had to save him. And that's how PJ and Keone became friends, because Flex Wheeler left him in the dust and never answered his calls, ghosted him, and never talked to him again.
Wow.
And now Keone is talking to him again and saying how and Flex Wheeler helped him. And I'm like, oh, he's got the wrong people in his corner. I'm like, you know what I mean? And then when he quit Blackstone, there was other bodybuilders, pros, chirping in his ear. Like, I have screenshots of it, all the bodybuilders that were chirping his ear to leave Blackstone because you have to make a statement, you know, and now they're not even in his corner anymore, you know? They're not even there to help him. So, and it was kind of sad too, because Fouad asked him, I don't mean to keep rambling, but Fouad asked him, like, you know, who'd you talk to about making that decision? And he's like, Flex Wheeler. And I'm like, whoa. Flex Wheeler is not in your corner, number one, because he left you hanging out to dry your first pro show.
Flex was telling him to go to the show while he was training him to pose, because he was saying he wanted to back out.
Yeah, but then he also asked Flex about if he should quit, if he should not do the Olympia. And he condoned in Flex Wheeler. And I'm like, why are you condoning in Flex Wheeler? Like, and he says they talk all the time. And I'm like, that just raises red flags to me, because Flex was not there for him at all when he was first prepping him, when he went to Flex to start training with him.
This is totally off topic. We'll go right back to Keone, but I have something random. I've never said this before, but it bothers me. So we'll go back to Keone. I just write it down. But Flex, nothing negative to say about him. I know I really respect everything he's done in all his life. When I was like a few years ago, I read about this story that he missed a competition once and claimed that ninjas attacked him in a car. Did you hear this story before? This is a real story, dude. I
have to ask Chad Nichols, because Chad would know.
He stands by this. He says ninjas attacked him in a car and he couldn't get to competition. He still says this now. He's been asked about it a few times. He
struggled with drug problems at the time when he was prepping Keone too. He was addicted to Oxycontin.
Oh, because of the
So I don't know if he
is from the 90s.
That's what I'm saying. No, I don't know if maybe he got into drugs back then.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's where it started. But that's like fucking epic, though. That's a great.
I was like, what? So this guy's a liar, like openly?
Listen, I like Flex Wheeler from a bodybuilding standpoint. Obviously, who doesn't? You'd be weird if you didn't. But I think he's a little weird.
Yeah, he's very serious. He takes himself really seriously. He's very emotional in interviews.
I don't like him in interviews.
He's very ego-driven. I'm not a big fan of his personality. I'm not saying he's not a bad bodybuilder. I'm not taking that away. But just like, if I had to sit in a room with him, I'd feel uncomfortable. Like, I'm not going to. Like a Sean Ray personality, though, where people really.
I'd rather sit in the room with Sean than I would with Flex, though.
Really?
Because I would like to bicker with him all day. You know, I can like go. We can like tat for tat, you know, for each other. But Flex, I feel like I'm not going to vibe with.
No, he has a strong ego. I think it takes personally.
It's a little awkward. Like, even like when PJ helped to take over the coaching reins, when Flex was going through those problems, and PJ and Flex were both helping Keone. And I know PJ like the back of my hand. I could tell even in the videos, PJ was like not vibing with Flex in the videos. Like, their conversations were just like not on the same frequency. You know what I mean? It was very weird. So I'm like, there's no way I would get along with him in the same room. I never had a chance to talk to Flex Wheeler, but I don't know. There's something, like you said, the ego driven. It's very weird.
Yeah, I sense that too. Now, there is a question about Keone. Do you think that this anxiety and self-doubt comes just naturally within him, or is it when he's like prepping that he feels it a lot?
Well, that's a good question.
Because the feeling I got from the way he was interacting, and also feeling recently, I've been thinking about this more and more because of Ian Valier, and then now this guy. I noticed a lot of people before the preps, and Fouad keeps talking about this on his channel, which, by the way, I have great things to say about Fouad's channel. I want to say later. But anyway, he's been, he talks about all the anxiety and this feeling right before the competition. Obviously, part of that has to do with losing the weight and the difficulty with that. But a lot of it has to do with the drug's effect on the brain. And there's even just an SSRI could protect you from a lot of the effects of, for example, the feeling of tremor.
Oh, yeah.
You're on it a few months before, and it won't impact your physique at all.
No, nothing.
So like I was thinking not just this, but there's a combination of things, particularly affecting GABA and affecting serotonin together can really protect someone from these effects with non-addictive drugs.
Because, Keone basically went from, competing last year as a classic guy, still qualified to go do the Olympia this year in two different things, the divisions, the 212 and the classic. Yeah. And he grew very fast over the offseason, which I think he probably was. And plus the pandemic on top of it, he was probably in a lot of solitude. He broke up with his other girlfriend right before all this pandemic thing, and now he has a new girlfriend. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying that affects anything, but he's very young too. And I remember the way I was with girls back then. I felt like I had to like give them all my attention and give them everything, or like my life was over type of thing. And he mentioned that in his first video. Oh, I'm going to support my girlfriend more. And I'm like, wait a second, like, why are you putting yourself second already? You know what I mean? Like, this is not, you're not getting married to this girl tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I get it. You're in a relationship, but like, why is that even coming to it? Like, why is that on the surface? Like right there, making him not do a show, like all these little things that he talked about. And it's like,
real depression, anxiety.
There's something really deep going on.
So, I just wanted to if you have any,
it shocked me that he bailed out. It really did. I'm still in shock about it. I can't believe he's giving that opportunity up.
It's a very severe reaction, which makes me think something's really going on with him. But what I was going to say is, if you know of anyone who's a pro bodybuilder, who's competing, who experiences these feelings before competitions, I'd love to offer some suggestions for free as a case study, like a couple of people that have this kind of paranoia. And maybe if someone watching this channel knows any of these people that have that kind of...
That'd be a really good study.
I'd love to do it as a case study for free, offer some ideas. They can take it if they want or not. And we see if it works, because if it does, there could be, what happened to, Luke, for example, it's really sad,
Yeah.
So, obviously that's partially coronavirus, partially long-term, but the effect of depleting serotonin and lowering GABA, having anxiety and discomfort all the time, it really affects someone in the long term.
I'm like even getting goosebumps talking about this, because I don't think people, so I'm not knocking the people. I know it might come off this way, but like, I really get upset when people are like, oh, I have anxiety. And like, not that I know that they don't have anxiety, because maybe they do, but I don't think they truly know what it feels like to be like really riddled with anxiety and panic attacks.
Well, I was about to say this earlier when we were talking about how bad anxiety and depression is, and you were talking about like how the depth of. I've also had crippling anxiety before.
Okay, so you
crippling.
I didn't want to bring it up. I was going to ask you like how bad yours was, but I didn't want to like.
No, I've had seizures because I have tremors, so I had anxiety about seizures in public. I used to have. So I worked that's how I got into all the neuroscience stuff, and I really worked hard to figure out how to deal with my situation. So, a lot of things happened to me because of this anxiety thing that I couldn't control. Real anxiety is very, very bad, but there can also be that kind of light anxiety where you just don't feel anything's quite right in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you consider that anxiety though?
I don't think it's generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, but it's something. Discomfort, unease, Yeah.
Because I remember the first time. Well, I think the biggest hump that I'm going to talk about even on my video series that helped with my anxiety, which no one really talks about, is being comfortable with having anxiety attacks. Like my biggest issue in the beginning when I was getting anxiety is because I was thinking I'm going to have an anxiety attack when I was in public.
Yes.
And people are going to look at me.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Is that like a major...
Just like stutterers. Stutters, when they're about to stutter and they notice you see them stuttering, they stutter more.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. So
you would be out and you'd be afraid. What if I get a panic attack?
Right here, right now, in front of these people.
I'm gonna embarrass myself and look like a B word. I don't know if we could swear on this, but I'm gonna look like I'm not that guy. I'm not I'm not a coward.
Well, especially when I was a fucking monster. Not that I'm like talking myself up, but like I'm this big muscular guy having a panic attack.
Yeah, it's like the Sopranos thing. Where
Tony Soprano, 100%. Bro, it was the worst because I'm not going to go there because if God forbid, or I'll be like this, let me take a Xanax just in case. And that's when the Xanax thing started to happen. I'm just going to take benzos all fucking day and just be like, if I do that, I'll be fine. I'll have to avoid all my anxiety attacks.
It actually could work if you were very controlled about the benzos and only went out like once every few weeks.
Right, yeah. And then you pass out afterwards. You're tired.
But once you realize how much it helps, then you end up in that other situation. With
other situation. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what happened with me at one point too, where I'm just like, I have to plan my day. If I can't go out too much because I have to like time the Xanax from wearing off. Like, let's say me and my girlfriend go out to dinner, and I'm like, let me just take one just in case so I don't ruin dinner. And this is when I was like really bad. This is when it was like, I thought she was going to leave me at one point. It was dark. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I was like, let me just take it before we go to dinner just in case. And I'd be at the dinner table like this. And I'd be like nodding out because I would take too much and it would hit me. And I'd be and I would be drinking on it on top of it. So then I'm like nodding out like I'm so laid back. She's like, wake the fuck up. I'm like, I can't fucking win, dude. I'm like, I'm just going to stay home. You know what I mean?
Well, I know what you mean when you say like, do they really have anxiety? But they have something, right? Because maybe
people are obsessed with talking about that. It's like weird.
I do think there's bonus points. Like society gives you a little bonus points if you say, I have to focus on my mental health. Because I never said that. I never said that. Dude, I
never wanted to talk about it. Yeah.
I never talked about it. I went and worked, I read, I studied, I did everything I could. But
the last thing I would say. The last thing I would admit to. You know what I mean? So that's why I think it's a little weird too when people are like, oh yeah, I struggle with mental health, or yeah, my this and this. Like in the way they say the words, I'm like, they don't even know how to properly use them in a sentence. I'm like,
I've never met anyone who struggles with mental health who said I has struggled with mental health. They don't say that.
That's a very good point too. Yes, that's a very good point. You don't say that. But it just doesn't come out of your mouth.
Speaking of another thing, did you notice? So Keone has such an interesting body. He has like the smallest waist compared to his arm size. It's
fucking crazy. It's crazy, dude.
And the interesting thing, I was looking at older pictures of him, and I never seen this before, but even before he was quite big, his abs, which are like two lines like that, had split quite visibly with like.
It's funny you brought that up because I was wondering when that started to get. I feel like I didn't notice it before.
Same. I thought it was this year. So I did that. I looked back because I thought it would be a cool video to make. But he had it even when he was slightly muscular. But this year it just split where it's going down
It's like Ronnie Coleman, like.
Yeah, but Ronnie's last two abs were still connected. The last two split.
I didn't pay attention to that. I didn't see that.
So he has like a split going straight down where it goes wider and wider and wider.
I remember seeing it like how wide it was. The top is just like there's probably like 2 inches, 3 inches in between.
Like Dallas. If you remember.
Yes, yeah, exactly, like Dallas. Yeah. You think it's from the weight gain and the food and stuff?
Yeah, because it's a mixture of things. When you have a high progesterone and high estrogen or prolactin, you get this hormone called relaxin. Relaxin remodels collagen. So that ligament that attaches the two abs can split slowly. It happens to women when they're pregnant, when the progesterone is highest. Yeah. And it happens to men if they're on a bunch of steroids for a long time because the relaxin is there. No, it doesn't happen to everyone though. But it happened to me, for example, not because of, it happened to me with the top. I mean, it wasn't that big, but I was eating a lot. I had like a 1 inch.
A little bit.
It never closed back fully. It's
really?
Yeah, and you can feel like there's a weakness there. So if anyone develops a hernia, it'll just go through because.
It'll puncture right through, yeah.
Yeah, I think Keone will eventually develop a hernia because of that.
Also, do you think because his bone structure and his structure alone is not like meant to be, I don't think he's meant to be that big.
No, even the way he's a cartoon character. It's crazy.
I know people used to say that about me because like I'm Mr. USA, but if I had his body, bro, I would be naked everywhere. Like I would walk around everywhere with my shirt off because his body just looks so, like you said, cartoonish. I was just a big dude. I didn't look cartoonish. He looks like a cartoon character. Like if you're going to draw a cartoon muscular character, like that's what you would draw. Like these huge thighs, the fucking little waist, the huge arms, the huge delts. Like he doesn't have a missing body part on him. No, you know, it's wild. It's fucking wild what he looks like. That's why I'm like, I'll sponsor you. What are you gonna do for the Olympia, bro? I'm like, here's an SSRI. It's actually Tren. Just take it.
Tren is in pill form.
I'm gonna mix SSRI in the fucking Tren so he stays calm and confident and like, let's go. Like, get on your horse. Let's go, bro. Because like, I think there's an open door for him to do so well.
How tall is he? Is he 5'4"?
He's little. I mean, not little. I don't mean like little, but he's short. I mean,
but is he? Because everyone's
probably 5'5".
Olympia. All the top guys are like 5'7" now for some reason.
Derek's pretty short.
Who's Derek? Which Derek?
Lunsford.
Oh, Lunsford. Oh, I'm not talking about the 212. I was talking about the general Olympia. But yeah, those guys are all short, obviously.
Oh yeah, they're midgets. Yeah, they're short.
Yeah, but no, I mean the main ones are now. A lot of them are from 212.
I think William Bonak's probably.
Bonak's short. Hadi's very.
Hadi's short. Hadi's not.
They're 5'7".
Yeah, 5'7". I think Bonak's probably 5'6", 5'5". No.
Yeah, Bonak's another example.
Dexter, how tall is Dexter? 5'7".
You know what's weird? I've met Dexter a couple of times, both at Gold's as well as at the Arnold.
5'6".
And no, this is the weird thing. I don't know if he was wearing. Sounds really funny. I'm not accusing him of this, but I don't know if he was wearing lifts or his just Jordans, or they have their like high or
Jordans
something.
Are pretty clunky though, especially some of the older ones.
5'10", and he also had like a hat on him, but he looked the same height.
He wears a visor every fucking time he works out. Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
And he wears like real baggy clothes when he trains too. So like it probably makes him look a little taller than he is. You know. Yeah. I don't think he's taller than 5'7". There's no way, because Phil Heath's 5'9". And
he might be below 5'9", because I've seen Phil in person. He was shorter.
You think Phil's shorter than 5'9"? I have to ask him.
It's hard for you because you're over 6.
So I know, it's weird. I try. It's hard to measure people unless they're like walking up to me.
For you, everyone's like challenged in their height.
I remember when I did this has nothing to do with anything, but talking about short people, when I stood next to Branch Warren at my first pro show, I thought he was taller than he was. And I'm like, holy fuck, I could put my arm around his head. Like, that's how short he was. It was like he was like my little brother or something. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like such like
5'10" too. I just found out he was short.
Fucking, I mean, I don't want to call him a midget because that's mean. I don't want to use that term in a negative way, but like he was very, and I'm like, and then it's me and Cedric McMillan, who's like taller than me, and then Branch is between us. And I'm like, God damn, he's short. Like, I literally could see the top of Branch's head. Like, I can look down and see the top of his head. And I was like, this is fucking wild.
You know, another person, that Cedric is a great example of somebody that could benefit from stability, because that guy.
I think there's something up with him too, though.
Huh? Yeah.
There's got to be something up with him.
He should be Mr. Olympia.
Fuck. Time and time again.
Yeah, he could have. I mean, he was the closest to having that kind of Arnold, just like not just the.
Plus, his personality is hilarious.
And he has the military background. He would have
family. Yeah, like he has all the check marks. He checks off every box, and the personality. He's just got a lot of charisma. He's funny. He's witty. He would have been. I mean, he's well spoken. You know what I mean? Like he's just like a regular dude. I would have loved to see him, Mr. Olympia. I really would have, but like he hasn't. I think the best showing to date was probably when he turned pro at Nationals. He looked amazing, and then like one other pro show after that, and that was the last time I remember him even looking remotely good, and everyone kind of wrote him off after that. So it sucks.
Recently there was what I was going to say is the current Mr. Olympia, who for some reason I'm forgetting his name suddenly.
Brandon Curry.
Brandon Curry really, I don't know why, but Brandon Curry really impresses me. The way he handles himself, puts a public image of positivity and stuff like that. But recently, his coach, Abdullah from Kuwait.
That's so funny you brought this up.
Yeah, I was going to tell you because I know.
I'll show you a message when we get off this.
Yeah. So Abdullah's really interesting. Abdullah's like from where I am in the world. I would love to have him on the show, actually.
I talk to him every day. We text each other. Yeah, we talk every day. We're very close. Yeah, we're very close.
Abdullah and me are from very similar areas.
I'll get him on your channel tomorrow, dude. He'll love to come on.
By the way, he's
a chatterbox. He's a chatterbox too.
He's from a great family in his country. He's from a very well-known family. Yeah, it's a tribe actually, very well-known tribe. He has a great background. But I love seeing his. If you know him, that's awesome. I would love to have him on the show.
Yeah, we talk through WhatsApp all day long. It's hilarious. We joke with each other all day. Yeah, he's funny.
Now, what do you think about this movement to silence Sean Ray, mute Sean Ray? Now,
is this about the Abdullah thing, or are you talking about Abdullah?
No, separate issue. We just want to, because I thought you'll talk to me about Abdullah privately, but
the Abdullah thing is funny though. He is attacking everybody. Sean Ray thing. I mean, I see it from both sides because at the end of the day, Sean is just being constructive criticism. Yes, he goes a little off sometimes, but like he's trying to drive traffic and get attention too at the same time. So like, there's a lot of comments I don't agree with. Yeah. But at the same time, like he's just talking about bodybuilders and he's not saying like we're bad people. He's not attacking them personally. So it's kind of hard for me to see like the little bitch side of people complaining about his commentary, like, cause he's being so harsh. But
But I think you must have an interesting perspective because you're even from the younger generation than Fouad's. And Fouad's complaint was these 90 guys, including Dorian, including everyone else, keeps talking bad about the current generation. Makes us feel like crap. We looked at them as heroes. Are we really that crappy? Did you ever feel that feeling yourself, being even from a younger generation?
No, I didn't. I'm not that I'm like, not that I'm like against Fouad, but I just didn't agree with that. I think Sean brings a really good perspective to things. I think he's a good analyst. I think he is. He sees things through a different point of view that a lot of us don't. And let's be honest, let's call it what it is. Our generation wasn't that great. I mean, there's a lot of great bodybuilders, but I think the depth of it has changed. I mean, I think anyone could second that and say, after Kai Green left, like that era, that was like the last of it. Dennis Wolf, like there was a really good period there a couple of years when Phil had a lot of good competitors against him during his climb. And then kind of after that, it really fell off. But even then was kind of shaky. It was only like the top 6 guys that were good,
Do you think this is because of the decline of, because in the 90s and 80s, masculinism, especially in the West, was still something like bodybuilding is essentially masculinism,
Yeah.
In a way, it's this masculine physique, the image of it. And in the West, I feel like that, like in 2002, girls would be attracted to you if you had muscles. In 2008, that wasn't really as much true. And then in 2015, they're running away from you.
Yeah.
So in the West, whereas in Iran and in the Middle East, they still love this, machismo. And so my feeling was that maybe if the crop of bodybuilders right now aren't the same as in the 90s, just because it's less popular. So there are people going to other sports or whatever.
And I mean, this is like probably a pretty, pretty easy way to explain it, but like the other divisions for men kind of like discourage them from being pro bodybuilders now too. Like they're like, oh, I could just be that guy with abs and weigh 180 and turn pro and have the same status as that guy that worked like myself or Fouad for 15 years to turn pro. You know what I mean? Like they look at it like that. They don't look at it as like more of the physique. They look at it as like just the pro card, and that's what I get from people that inquire about coaching. They're like, I just want a pro card. Which division's easier? And I'm like, what? Wait, what? What do you want to do though? What do you want to look like? They're like, yeah, but can I look like that like next year? And I'm like, fuck, man. And I'm like, you don't even care about the way you look. You just want to get a pro card.
But what does a pro card do anymore?
It doesn't do shit.
Yeah, it doesn't do much, right?
And I don't think it really did much back then either. It was just really about how you turned pro. And I used to talk about that a lot. Like when they started opening the floodgates of turning pro in these like overseas shows for us, like, I don't know, like a Dominican Republic where there's like 3 guys at a pro qualifier and like people are turning pro in, open bodybuilding classes and amateur. It's like, it's retarded. But I think, and I told about this a lot, like the only reason I have any name at all, well, yes, I was sponsored for a while, but it's because I won Mr. USA. At the time, that show was still prestigious. Like that was my title. You know what I mean? The only reason I have any claim to fame is because I won that one show. It's not because I had an extensive career or competed in a lot of shows, because I didn't. I only did a handful of shows. So back then when you won a prestigious show, like people knew who you were. You were like the talk of the year. You know what I mean? People talked about you for a while because you were the champ and you like carried that for that year. The national champ, Mr. USA. Now it's like there's 8 million pro cards given out every show, so.
What was the most prestigious show after the Arnold? Is it the New York Pro? I mean, it used to be called the Night of Champions.
I guess, yeah. I mean, even though it doesn't live up to its name really that much anymore, but on the map, like statistically, I would probably say, yeah, it has to be. I mean, plus like, the promoter, Steve, they want him to have like a prestigious show too. So like, and it used to be the Night of Champions was almost better than the Olympia at one point. You know what I mean? It was crazy, that show.
The IFBB is pretty interesting. I heard someone mention something recently on a video that really struck a chord with me. It's like a mafia. It's like a mafia thing. Like it's like a kept within each other. It's passed down generationally. It even skips a generation sometimes. Goes to the grandson who's 20.
Listen, I like Tyler on a personal level.
We'll get into details. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just think it's crazy that they handed over like their baby to a kid that's very young still. I just figured, I thought Steve would have took it over Weinberger, but I don't think Steve really, not that he's old, but I don't think he wants the responsibility. Like, you know what I mean? He has like his life, his gym. It's a lot to take on. You know what I mean? It's a lot of work for somebody. I don't know. It's just I hope the way they pass the torch just ends up well. That's all, because that's a lot of responsibility for him.
Did you see Greg Doucette? So I don't watch Greg Doucette's videos anymore, but because
I feel like he's been quiet. Is that
today? Today he made a video separating from Rice, the supplement sponsor that he was with. Now,
wait, what happened?
So he has a supplement sponsorship, and the company is called RYSE, Rice.
Oh, that company. Yeah. What happened?
So he had Rice on because I had his cookbook. Like, he specifies rice in all the recipes. Like, he has it everywhere. He was very aligned with them. He made a video today basically destroying the company. I mean, it's like
Stop it.
Oh, you should see this one. He's like, they came with a contract with me. They broke it. I made another one. They broke it. They have no integrity. I rely on integrity. I'm separated from this company. If you want to buy from them, that's your choice, but I will not be supporting them anymore. They will be removed from all my cookbooks. Yeah, it was very
did he say anything bad about the supplements themselves, or just them as their integrity?
Integrity. And he's opening up his own company.
Supplements.
I think he has a large enough fan base that he could actually like have a successful big company. Actually.
You think so? Supplements?
Yeah, like 14-year-old guys eating protein from Greg Doucette. I think it's very possible.
Yeah. Eating protein from Greg Doucette. The way that came out just sounded fucking hysterical.
There's a show called The Queen's Gambit. Have you seen it? It's on
my
Netflix.
mom.
It's a week old. You got to see it.
I think my mom told me about it. She said to watch it. I think that's what I have to look at my text messages. I didn't see it yet.
Yeah, I watched a little bit last night. I was so happy. I watched 2 episodes. It's fantastic.
Is there enough episodes to watch it though?
I know what you mean. I always get pissed off if there's not enough episodes, but it's a limited series. I think there's probably like 5 or 6, but it's so well made. It's about a little girl. I mean, it's totally unrealistic. It's about a little girl who's a chess prodigy, but the chess parts are all accurate.
Right.
It's pretty.
I love chess.
Very well made. Very well made.
My girlfriend played chess all the time.
Me and my wife play all the time too.
I get smoked though. She's so good at games, dude. It's like scary how good. I told her to go play professionally if there is such thing. She's like scary good.
Oh, there definitely is. Yeah, and
is there?
Yeah, I mean, chess is
probably isn't that good, but to me, I feel like she's amazing. I'm terrible at it.
Yeah, the top American chess player lives now in California. I'm forgetting his name right now. His name is.
Is it like an overseas thing that's popular, or is it popular in the States?
No, it's popular all around the world. I mean, the top 5 guys are multi-millionaires. The guy I'm talking about is worth over 40 million.
Stop it.
Yeah, they make money. They make money. Sponsorships. He was sponsored by Red Bull. He's sponsored right now by Postmates. Yeah, he streams on Twitch every day. His name is, sorry, I just remembered, GM Hikaru Nakamura. You can find him on YouTube.
I gotta look this up now.
I'll send you his channel. He just streams all day. Postmates, like if Budweiser did it, you wouldn't be surprised. Like
I chose bodybuilding, and I could have been a chess player. Yeah, I could have lived 120 for sure.
Exactly. They all do live long. But the point is, it's a really good show. I was really happy about it. Basically,
who wins when you and your wife play?
Oh, me. But that's just because I'm more interested in it. She actually she's resisting playing now because her ego is getting a little.
That's how I am. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not fucking playing anymore.
Yeah, she's resisting. I try to get her to play, but she does not.
We used to play cards, and I used to smoke her in cards, and now she won't play cards with me. So now we're playing chess, and now she smokes me in chess.
Well, I can't. My wife is an expert poker player. Like, really,
that's fucking funny.
She don't win money. She's very good.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, she's very good. I couldn't play poker with her, but anyway, it's a really great show. I was happy to see it. I'm gonna go.
I'll have to watch that now.
Now we got a few questions this week. We'll finish our show soon, but we got a few questions. Let me ask you. The first one, actually, I'll read the whole question out, but it's about the guy's asking whether you think an SSRI would be useful in combating the side effects of tren. His name is Mountain. He says, what is your opinion on the use of 5-HTP? Oh, he didn't even say SSRI. He said 5-HTP. Okay, great. Then we'll attack this. So he said the use of 5-HTP to alleviate psychological side effects from tren. Since it can heavily deplete serotonin, I hypothesize that 5-HTP, which is the precursor to serotonin,
right,
or other supplements that increase serotonin, could help a great deal with insane dreams, irritability, anxiety, etc. Also, since Nick stated that he experiences anxiety every once in a while, how was his experience running trend back in the day? How did he cope when running into problems? Also curious about Leo's experience on this, since he said that he used to experiment with trend. Love the podcast, guys.
So it's funny that I can really touch on the part where he said, what was it like when I used trend? So it's pretty funny because like in the beginning of my bodybuilding career, obviously I was not into like partying like I was at the end of my bodybuilding career. And as you get older, these PEDs affect you way different. You know, they alter your mind differently. The side effects are different, obviously. And I never thought that day would come where I'd be the guy like, oh, these side effects, I can't handle it. I can't take, because all my older friends, because that's all I had at the time, were like, you're not gonna be able to do what you do at your age when you get older. There's no way. And I'm like, no, dude, I'm smarter than you. Fuck you. Like, I'll figure it out. You know, that type of attitude. Real confident, cocky dickhead kid attitude. So as I get older, and I remember this precisely, my first Mr. USA, which was 2012. And, you know, let's be honest, I pushed a lot of drugs. So that prep in particular, I started to pick up smoking weed. And now
that's a bad mixture. I'll tell you.
Yeah. So I already didn't respond well to smoking weed prior to my trend cycle. Because like the way my brain's wired, I get the anxiety, the bad hallucinations, like even off a couple of puffs, dude. Like it's not good. It's not pretty. So now you add the trend side effects on top of smoking weed. Now, mind you, I was doing wax too. It wasn't even like it was bud. It was wax. So that stuff hits you like a fucking like it's like taking acid. You know what I mean? So I remember I'm living on my own, obviously, and I was in California at the time, and I had these doors that on a very small balcony. My apartment was small. It was a 1-bedroom. And I remember smoking and just like literally falling into like this, I had to go train, but I was smoking before I go train because it calmed down because I'm like all amped and zittery. And I remember almost running off, not like literally trying to kill myself, but because I was hallucinating so bad, I started to like run forward through my balcony doors and almost fell off the balcony because like I thought I was like seeing, God knows what I was seeing. And I was like hallucinating all this crazy shit. That entire night I laid on the floor and fell asleep. I woke up at like 3:00 in the morning in my gym clothes because I hallucinated like so bad. I was tripping balls, like way worse than I ever did on any other drug. So I didn't know what the fuck even happened. So then I asked my friend at the time, I'm like, you know, I'd never had this happen before. And he's like, well, it's because of the trend. And I'm like, there's no way trend and weed could do that. I'm like, there's just no way. Now, mind you, I'm 24 and like 25. And this is where all the side effects started to hit. That at age was like my breaking point where like anything I did, I felt type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, if I took like a pre-workout, it was like I couldn't even do that anymore. So that year was a weird transition for me. So that's when I started to get into like ketamine, and I would start taking my painkillers. I started to use them more recreationally because like just to like dwindle down the trend, you know? And so I don't really remember trend prior to that bothering me, but like when that age thing happened and the conflict of the drugs, like there was a weird transition period where all the steroids started to affect me. You know what I mean? Like before it wasn't, but then like I started to mask it with party drugs. So then the trend effects weren't even there really. So, and all the trend cycles after that, I had to use drugs to like kind of wash out the side effects. So like before that though, I was fine, which is weird. You know what I mean? Cause I was young, resilient. I don't think I was as fucked up, obviously, neurologically, you know, I was able to cruise by without having any problems, but
I think there could be a slight neurological impact, but also as you get older, you just digest the drug slower. So if you take like 100 milligrams of tren, before you'd have like 50 milligrams left in 8 hours in your body. Now you still have 75 or whatever. So that's one of the elements of it. It just, everything stabilizes slower.
I remember I used to like actually feel good. Like when I would use those hardcore toxic, you know what I mean?
21.
Yeah. Like I didn't get it when people were like, oh, like I have these problems.
You're weak. Guys are weak.
Like you're weak, bro. You're so like, you know, you're a little bitch, you know, whatever word. And then like, as I got to that point, I'm like, what the fuck is, that's when like, I don't want to say it's my first sign of anxiety, but that was one of the first things that started to really worry me. So I'm like, what's wrong with me? you know, and then you start doing the what's wrong with me type of spiel in your head. You know, you're like, is there something wrong? Like, why can't I take this anymore? You know, then you like think you have like liver damage. You start playing all these games in your head. You know what I mean? And that's when the anxiety started, was when I was living there. And that night was like the first taste of like, your mind is not wired the same anymore, you know? And literally took a couple of puffs, man. You know what I mean? Just to like chill out before the gym like I normally do.
So I understand a couple of puffs potentially causing a hallucination, because when people have less of a tolerance, they see more like, you know, the kind.
It was so vivid, dude. It was, I don't know. It was like the gates of heaven type of, you know what I mean? Like crazy shit. I remember just running out and I'm like, what the and like, you know, you kind of like catch yourself and then you like go back into it and like you try to close your eyes and it won't go away. It's like, it's the worst.
You know, it actually reminds me almost identically of the first time I ever used marijuana when I was like 10 years old. I saw a kid, actually my little brother, run into a room and I freaked out. I ran into another room and hid under the blankets. I was like, what? Why am I freaking out? What's going on? But I need to stay under these blankets just in case.
People don't understand the story if they've never been there. They're like, what are you fucking talking about?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
if you develop a tolerance to weed, the worst thing is if you're a chain smoker of weed and on trend. That is the worst. You end up just paranoid all the time. Anyway, I had a similar experience. As you obviously use it much less and have less experience with it. But I just wanted to comment on this 5-HTP thing, because if the gentleman who asked the question, he should probably watch the last 2 episodes of my serotonin series, in which I explained very succinctly why 5-HTP is not a good supplement to use. It's not like take an SSRI, because serotonin actually promotes the growth of certain cancers, for example, especially liver cancer. You don't want to take serotonin in your whole body. You want it in your head, and you want it to stay in your head, but you don't want it in all your body, because it can also cause valvular issues with your heart and so on. And what happens actually when you take trenbolone is not that your serotonin levels or your transmission of serotonin just declines. All your receptors also decline. So that's not going to affect any. You take the 5-HTP, your receptors are not going to fix themselves.
They're not turned on anyway, so
you have to have it's 2 things that happen on trend. GABA signaling decreases, serotonin on all of the steroids decreases.
Do you like particularly a particular SSRI for trend, or is there a couple ones?
One SSRI in general, because it has 2 mechanisms. It's called fluvoxamine or Luvox. It agonizes the sigma receptor, which enhances dopaminergic signaling in the brain, and it obviously inhibits SERT, which all of them do. That's a serotonin.
I have to research that one.
That's my favorite one. It's really good for ruminating thoughts.
Okay.
And probably would be the best one for that. But sometimes the people have the least side effects from the most targeted one, which is called escitalopram, which is also called Fluvox. Or Lexapro, sorry.
Lexapro, yeah, okay. That's what I thought, yeah.
But I mean, go ahead.
Did you, so like during my days using Lexapro, well, obviously I was just recently on Lexapro, but what was I going to say? So like when the dose though, Lexapro, this has really nothing to do with the question. I'm just asking you this. How come when you increase the dose on Lexapro, there's like such dramatic difference though in the response of the SSRI?
So at the lower level of the dose, the main effect is an increase in the synthesis of neurosteroids in the brain. At a higher dose that's strong enough to inhibit SERT, the serotonin transporter, then it causes not just enhanced serotonin signaling, but more importantly, neurotrophic factors like growth hormone for the brain. And that is what allows your brain to reorganize, adapt to your situations, not get stuck on certain thoughts. And that usually happens at a higher dose. So I believe that the most important thing with that SSRI is always to start at the lowest dose you can, where you don't feel you feel should be no side effects after the first week. First, you feel a bit drowsy, but nothing.
It takes a couple of weeks to kick in.
It takes actually like for the growth factors, 2 to 3 months to 4 months.
Yeah.
But you should only raise obviously I'm not a doctor, there's not medical advice, but my personal experience, only raise the dosage when you don't see any side effects. And then you may get to a dose like escitalopram. I'm not as familiar with the doses, but you may get to escitalopram. I think it's 40 milligrams the max dose. I'm not sure, but when you get to sort of not the max dose, but like say half, then you know what the feeling is. You've been like that for 2 months. Then you can bring it a little bit down to the point where you just feel a little bit of plasticity, a little bit of, you know what I mean? I don't take a high dose.
I talked about that in one of my videos this week about the little series I'm doing about going to see the right people to prescribe you the medicine. Because I remember when I went to my regular doctor, and he gave me the Lexapro. He started me out at 40 milligrams right away.
They all do.
And I said to him, I was like, isn't that kind of high? And I just did barely any research. This is the time I didn't even know what SSRIs really were. This is going back 5 years ago. And he's like, no, that'll be a good starting point. I'm like, all right. And then like, I literally was like this on my bed for like a month. I was tranquilized.
Yeah, you can't
like elephant, dude. I didn't move. I had no emotion. You could literally like do the worst thing in the world to me. But I mean, that was after it kicked in. You know, I was literally watching the clock, waiting for that to kick in because my anxiety and I was just like, you know what I mean? Like a ball of stress. So once it kicked in, dude, I was a drooling mess. Like I was a disaster. So that's why I always tell people, go to the right people, the right therapist or psychologist that can prescribe you the right dose, the right medicine that works for you. Because not every time is going to be the right dose or the right it took me a while to find my balance with everything, you know, like I told you before. So people get discouraged though right away if it doesn't work. And I'm like, can't be like that, you know?
Hey, what do you think about this question? Sean says, is time on versus time off really necessary? Coming off completely for like 3 weeks and then 200 milligram test for another 4 to 5 weeks has my blood work looking decent. So like 7 to 8 weeks off and 20 weeks off. Basically,
well, it's not really off though. He was on test still.
That's what I was just about to say. So you can't, I don't know. So I don't know if you went off for 7 to 8 weeks in total, but if you did, the test in anthe will still be in your system at least till the 6th.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
You still have it there. So yeah, it's always, I think it's maybe more convenient if someone's trying to do that to move to shorter esters before they do.
This is one thing I actually wanted to talk to you about on a podcast because the $1 million question I get, hey, Nick, what do you think of this cycle? Do you think I should do this for? And I'm like, dude, listen, first of all, you can't jump from being on cycle to just test the PCT to back on cycle. You can't just go things back to back to back to back to back. There needs to be a time where your hormones are adjusting, your body's, adjusting to all the changes hormonally, and like there's got to be a waiting period. You can't just like jump from cycle to PCT to back on cycle to PCT. You know what I'm saying? Like these guys go from one back to back to back and never give their body time hormonally to adjust to what they're doing. They're just like, I'm going to do a PCT for 7 days and then I'm going to go back on a cycle and then I'm going to do this. And I'm like, this is why you end up 6 months from now, like suicidal, because you have like done 10 different things in a period where 2 things should have happened. You know what I mean? They don't give enough time, a lot of time for their hormones to balance out. They underestimate how long it takes.
I wonder if that's definitely true in this case. I wonder if it's the case that, I mean, the way I see it is the reason to go off, the main reason is for all your receptors in your body to downregulate so that it can absorb what you want to give it to later.
Exactly.
Those people that take like 200 milligrams of tren a day and they're skinny and they're weak, those are the people that just kept raising it and they just stayed like that for years with no results. You can't, the longer you stay on at a high dose, the less you get out of it. You have to,
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's a point of no return there.
I definitely think so.
But I think there's just so much bad information there about how you should PCT. And like I tell people all the time, like your PCT is going to take, give or take 3-4 months to actually work. It's not going to work during the PCT.
PCT in 1 month, even if you want
like your hormones are not fixed in a month, dude. Nothing. It's still adjusting. So
all you've done actually is take HCG so that you produce test, blocked estrogen for 2 weeks, and then went back. There's nothing. Your body
just told your body, hey, turn it back on real quick, and then all of a sudden you're back on again on the juice. I'm like, you've done nothing.
And the fact that you turned it on with the HCG also means now you're not even androgen depleted. So you still have less downregulation than you want to. You actually want to feel like shouldn't be downregulated for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't even come off everything for a period of time. They go right on HCG. And I'm like, dude, you're not solving any problems doing that. You're just literally just replacing one drug with another. So
Carved Out of Stone, who often comments on our videos and is a nice guy, he said, along with Rami's COVID BS, I'm surprised you didn't jump on Fouad's nonsense excuse. This is a little harsh message, but nonsense excuse for pulling out further. 2 weeks ago, he's on death's door with kidney shutdown, yet admits to recently experimenting with and loving Jordan Peterson's HIT-style training, which has to be one of the most brutal forms of HIT out there. So he went from pulling out from the show because of near kidney shutdown to hammering copious amounts of junk food, post-contest diet, and jumping straight into extreme hard training again. Right, okay. Just some Fouad for thought. Great show, guys. So I thought this was a good question to bring up because I want to say something really positive about Fouad. So like obviously, so my main contention with Fouad is that he has very little understanding of biology, like almost shocking. And he started coaching clients again, which is just totally irresponsible. Doesn't know anything that he's doing. No, that's one thing.
That's one thing that bothered me too. I saw him. I'm going to take on some client. He goes, the best was the podcast with Ben, who I like too. Ben seems cool, like a cool guy. He's asking Ben if he should coach, and I'm like. Ben coaches, I think, full time. I don't remember, but like, why are you asking? Like,
he's not asking to bring it out on the podcast, so
I know
would shoot in emails.
Of course, I know, but like in my mind, I'm like, he was so confused about if he should coach or not, and then like, I'm like in my mind, if I was a client that wanted to potentially hire somebody, I'm like, this guy, all he does is like, I'm not bashing forward, but like every podcast, he's like so shocked when he hears information from people.
Yes, I know, that's what I'm trying to say. He doesn't know anything.
And I'm like...
He asks the most random, broad questions.
He's like, wait a second. So you're telling me, like, your top set... Well, let's start over. Like, with the Justin Peters one, I was like, what the
By the way, that Jordan Peters guy is another thing. Yeah, he's another thing. But okay, so he just always shocks me with the level of... Okay, I heard Peter... Is his name Tour? What's the guy, Tour? The coach?
Oh, Patrick Tour, yeah.
Okay, Patrick Tour and Fouad on a conversation. Fouad asked him, listen, dude, anything
I know where you're going with this.
That could change the fat deposition in my body. And Patrick's like, I don't know. And I'm sitting there like, estrogen, anti-estrogen, woman, where do they develop fat? Like, and Fouad's like, what could it be? And I think Tour said something random like cabbage or something. It was like totally irrelevant. I'm like, you guys don't know that estrogen changes the way you're fat. I mean, don't you notice this? When you take an anti-estrogen, you lose fat around certain areas, your ass.
Yeah, receptors and everything. Yeah, exactly.
But so he doesn't know anything about, I understand that. And the other thing is he seems to not want a coach, which is another. So that was what you're talking about. It's like, why would
and then the fact that like he's always hiring coaches, like he's got John Meadows helping him. And then like he's trying to give advice to Guy Sister Nino how to train, but he like literally just learned it from telling him how to train the right way. And Guy's like, yeah, but I like training this way. He's like, but you got to train this way. This is the right way. And I'm like, wait a second. You didn't even know like a week ago how to even train that way either. So I'm like.
And by the way, Jordan Peters just took dog craps training method. Dante Trudel.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought it was.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a British Dante Trudel.
Right, exactly. Yeah, but basically, Dante Trudel. Yeah, exactly. And in my mind, I'm just like, how is he going to help people when he has no idea what's going on? And I'm like, listen, that's not his thing. That's fine, which is he makes great content, but like he's not cut out to be a coach.
No. Now that's what I wanted to say like first. But then I want to say the guy, I got to tell you, I'm really impressed with this podcast. The guy, he just sits and chats like so comfortably. They talk about the most random crap.
I don't want to bash him because I do like him, but like.
And I started to like him. That's the other thing. I watch him more and more, and I'm like, he's a nice guy. He just doesn't understand biology. I mean, he doesn't like got blood pressure problems.
Let me look at it like this. Let me try to like put a perspective on it, see if you understand. Let's say you had like this obsession. I'm laughing right in front of him saying it. Let's say you had like this oddly obsession with something and you're an extremely gullible person, but you didn't know anything about it, but you're like so ravenous to learn.
He's just enthusiastic. He loves talking about it.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
doesn't know anything about it.
Just like just entertain me. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not, but like, that's how I see it. I wouldn't have any entertainment in any of those conversations that he has. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, look, we're going backwards with some of these topics. You know what I mean? Because like they're getting somewhere with a convo, and all of a sudden it goes like this. It goes back again. I'm like, what the? You guys were just getting somewhere.
No, but we have to give credit. It's a unique podcast.
It's working though. He's pumping out content like crazy. I mean, obviously his channel is getting a lot of views and shit. So, but no, like
he deserves. Look, he does not know anything about biology, but he's a nice guy, and you watch him, you get in a good mood. He's just so relaxed. Like the guy's health is failing. I mean, if you're 40 years old and your kidneys are that fucked, bro, you're gonna need a transplant. There's no way around.
I was gonna send you a selfie. I was gonna send you a screenshot of his selfie.
Yeah,
it's like the way his skin was looking again.
This part,
so bad.
I don't know what that is though. It could be just an Arabic thing. Some Arabs get
Yeah, but it did not. He did not. If you go back, and I did research because I'm a weirdo, he didn't have all that shit going on.
No way.
Ever since like
have that?
Started to push the envelope again this past year, it started to look like it got like he was looking healthy actually for a while before he was doing all that craziness again. Whatever he was doing, I don't know what he was doing, but like obviously something happened. I don't know. To me, he just doesn't look healthy, and I can just kind of spot that. You know what I mean? I feel like the same way.
He's got some coach apparently telling him that you might not need to lose weight to be able to maintain your health, which is just like, I don't know how bad the kidneys, I don't know what his levels are.
Number one thing you should be doing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was going to, he said, but someone, I think Chur told him that maybe we could fix it without that. But I really, really wish him the best with his health. I really think he's a nice guy.
I hate when I see people like push their health for like, especially he's not going to compete. I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, even if he was going to compete, it doesn't make sense. Like, why do people get so obsessed with it? It's so weird. I'm like, why do you want to die? Like, literally, like, why do you want to die? Like, what, like, is it, I don't think they really register it. I really don't.
No, it saddened me because I've been watching a show and a couple of times he mentioned like, I probably shortened my life. I know I've shortened my life, but whatever, I've done this. You don't have to. Like, you don't have to accept that, you know, you can.
No, and listen, I was in that for a short period of time when I was younger, but like, I really snapped out of it when I started to have like flashes of like, fuck, dude, I'm going to die. Like, what am I doing? Like, I don't have to do this. What am I doing?
Yes.
No one else is going to be there for me when I fucking hit the bed. You know what I mean? I'm going to be like, he was a really good bodybuilder. Too bad. You know what I mean? No one's going to give a fuck. I'm the only one losing out.
That's
you know,
nobody remembers the dead bodybuilders. Nobody them. You just talk about
how fast people write off Dallas, who was like, it was like
truly a legend, a true
legend. Like, and he had so much love. No one even mentions his name anymore. Don't even talk. Like, you're not going to be remembered for anything. So what are you doing? I don't know. It saddens me. I don't even know the guy like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's hard to watch sometimes that people push themselves like that so uncomfortably. You know, he's not comfortable. I mean, it's obvious.
Anyway, we just got attacked by some spam. So, continuing on. So there's another question. There's a couple more questions. We'll just do it like a couple of more of them.
Yeah.
This guy says, I'd love to hear what you guys think about Dave Palumbo's pregnancy protocol and Boston's protocol, which was like everything times 3. Anyway, anything you guys would add, change realistic expectations? I just wanted to add, I have a series on getting off AAS on my channel that I use, like basically the research I did for myself. Because
what's it called? Because I'd like to see it. I want to see what you do.
Recovering from AAS. It's 3 parts, okay. And it just covers my research and then how I came up with the program that I use, which is very similar to theirs as well. The mistakes they do with their programs, they use HMG. HMG, the reason it works, a part of it is this thing called FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, but only a part of it. HMG used to be used. They don't use that anymore. The drug used now is called recombinant FSH. It's human FSH pure. You take 75 units of that every other day. It's much more powerful than HMG. Other than that, I think.
Is that like this is going to have a really weird question, but is that like an American drug company that makes that, or is that?
I think there's surely an American one, and the brand name is often called Conal F or something F. I can send you.
The only reason I would use HMG was because that was all I used to be able to get for people. You know.
Yeah, I can't get it, but you can get it. You can get.
I can get HMG, but I can never get recombinant. I can never get that. It was so hard at the time.
I can talk to you about it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That one's much better. And then there's another drug instead of Clomid. It's much more effective. It's called N-clomiphene citrate instead of clomiphene citrate.
Don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's a bit more effective. That one is hard to get your hands on. And otherwise, their protocol. The last thing that's wrong with their protocol, not wrong, but I disagree with both of the protocols are very short and they're baby making protocols, which totally makes sense. They don't need to be that long for that. But if you actually want to recover your testosterone production in your body, you have to be on HCG for a long time.
What's your? I'm curious if you want to talk about it.
8 to 10 months was for me. Other people, I've been 2 years now. Actually, I realized yesterday. So when I stopped taking hormones, I had a shaved head. So my hair now comes down to here. So this is the natural length of me being off hormones.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a while. So I've not been on anything for a long time. I feel great. I don't have any issues.
So how much HCG do you run weekly?
I don't run anything. That was the first 8 months.
What did you run at the time?
So the research, by the way, there are people that, doctors that prescribe 10,000 units once a week. There are doctors that prescribe 3,000 units every other day. Usually it's every 2 days or every 3 days, between 2,000 units to 3,500 units, something like that.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
It's pretty standard.
So their cycle is what, 14 days or something?
No, they just do it until the lady gets pregnant. But I just want people to understand that you do that till she gets pregnant. That doesn't mean you come off and your testosterone's fine, you feel great.
Oh, no, definitely not. Definitely not. Yeah.
It takes a long time.
Now, did you recover your test?
I haven't actually tested my test, but I've tested sperm parameters and they're perfect. Everything's good.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't tested my test because I don't care that much. I just know.
Yeah.
I think we'll do one more. I think this was a great call, except when we got interrupted by that spam.
Out of all people.
One guy says opinions on yohimbine HCl versus ECA stack for fat loss. I wonder what you think. Yohimbine or the ephedrine caffeine aspirin?
I mean, ECA is so old school.
It is, right? 2005.
It's like, yeah, I think even before that, fucking's been around. That was like pre-GNC days. If I had to choose, I wouldn't even use either. I mean, they're not really that effective. I'm not like huge on. I mean,
to those.
I'm not big on Clen either, really. I mean, what do you think?
Okay, so all of them work through the same way. They all work through the adrenergic system, increasing adrenaline. Clen actually agonizes the receptor, replacing adrenaline. And I think that yohimbine and ephedrine are both reuptake inhibitors of norepinephrine. So basically, they all work through different mechanisms, slightly, I think, but they're all in the same area. So whichever one I think makes somebody, obviously depends on the dose, but whichever one makes somebody heat up enough, or raise the heart rate the most.
Yeah.
But it's a very unhealthy way to lose weight.
Well, yeah, that was my biggest thing. Like Clen is just, there's so many side effects that come along with them. Not many people feel good on it, especially the stripping of minerals and vitamins and minerals on it. The cramping. People get cramps a lot of it. The shaking, the trembles. And people don't like to feel like racy. Their heart's racing. People don't like that stimmy feeling. And ECA stack is so mild, though. I mean, it's not going to hurt you. I mean, you can take enough ephedrine too. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. If you're taking, let's say, recommended dose of ephedrine, you're not going to feel too crazy on it. The only thing with Clen, though, is the tolerance too. Like, you have to really tiptoe around that with the tolerance.
And that's actually adrenal fatigue. When people ask, what is adrenal fatigue?
Right.
The tolerance of Clen, that's adrenal fatigue.
That's when people don't realize that they're just stalling their metabolisms. And that's the number one thing that happens in women. Can I ask you something? How do you manage, or not you personally, but how do people manage their thyroid hormones? Like, I hear that there's one of the things that's not talked about so much in this industry is the amount of people on permanent thyroid medication. Is that true? Like, are you asking if there is a lot of damage with people's thyroid? Do people recover from women mostly? I've noticed that they don't have resilient thyroids for some reason. They don't bounce back like men's do. I don't know if there's a scientific study that proves that, but it seems like that most women that push the envelope with gear too much, too frequent, like all year round, seem to have a lot more issues than men. Men seem to think, from what I've noticed, and this is just from having clients over the last God knows how many years, men's thyroids seem to bounce back much easier after doing let's say a contest prep or whatever. Their thyroids bounce back pretty quick, showing, proven with blood work, not just guessing. And most women I've had, there's some women obviously are freaks, but most women who have thyroid problems, like, they're fucked. Like, I can even talk, firsthand from family members that have a lot of problems with their thyroids, women, and where, they're even on 25 micrograms and their thyroids are still not operating as efficiently as it should be naturally, because of damage. I don't know if it's because of the fluctuation of weight. I don't know if it's from their menstrual cycles, their hormones, their estrogen. I don't know what affects them so much, but like something alters their thyroid production besides just obviously altering it with hormones, like taking stuff to increase their muscle or whatever, fat loss. But I noticed that women abuse stims too a lot. like uppers, you
No
know,
one likes stims though. Have you ever noticed that?
Adderalls,
Yeah.
Ephedra, Clen, they like all those stimmy stuff. I don't know what it is. It's
I don't
weird.
know.
So
They don't react as
but
bad.
who knows which girl's being transparent too, like what they're really doing behind closed doors? Because just what I tell them to do, I don't know if that's everything, you know what I mean, from experience. But I noticed they just don't bounce back. Like a lot of girls are fucked in our industry, especially with these coaches that don't taper on and off thyroid medicine very well. They give them like, you know, how many girls have, not recent because I don't really train that many girls. I don't really train any girls anymore, but girls would come to me when I was like training women and they'd be like, I'm on 200 micrograms of thyroid, T3,
Whoa.
150 micrograms of T3 all the time.
Their heart rate, like that's crazy.
It's not like either I'm like, it's fake or you're fucked up.
Your heart's gonna blow up.
You're really fucked up. Like, you know what I mean? And so I'm like, but that happens a lot. I'm not kidding. Like a lot. So, and these girls, like the average dose is 100 micrograms. Like girls don't, like, they're like, oh, I take 100. I'm like,
You never even tried 100. That's
I'm like, are you, I'd be like Ethiopian if I did that. Like, you know what I mean? I would look like, you know, I would be like Bones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just wild to me. Like that's firsthand experience. So I know a lot of these guys starve them. They do caloric, you know, real low calories. They're in a caloric deficit, tons of cardio, and a lot of T3 and Clen. I mean, that's literally what they do with them.
So, you know, I had Oksana Grishina on my channel, and she's a fit.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see that one. I want to watch that one. How'd that go?
She's a very nice lady. She's apparently a very close friend of, or a close friend of some of my very close friends. So that's how I got to know her. But
Gotcha.
it was really great. And, you know, when I was talking to Oksana, I didn't know much about fitness before the competition. And I noticed from her, like, her voice is very feminine. She's very, like, you know, you couldn't tell that she was like a bodybuilding kind of.
Right.
But I was watching another interview with another fitness competitor this week. Well, I'll leave nameless. But, you know, when I first saw her, she looked very feminine, normal. And there's nothing, I'm not judging. No woman has any responsibility to look feminine or anything like that. You be whatever you want to be. But this is where I'm getting at. When she was talking originally in the interview, I saw her voice was quite normal. But then she got more relaxed and it started, her voice getting really deep. And we were talking earlier about how, like, when you have anxiety and you see the other person noticing, like, for example, you're having a panic attack, or these girls, like, notice, like, when they go to a store that their voice is, like, really deep and people are like, and their hair is falling out. And do you know what I mean? Have you ever heard of, like, horror stories where later on these girls regret what they did?
When I was, you know, in my scene and I was single running around, I had a lot of female friends, like just friends I'm talking about, who were like, I vibed very good with the women bodybuilders and like the figure chicks, like the more hardcore ones. I didn't like vibe with the bikini chicks. I just was not, you know, when it came to just friends, like just being around girls that are cool, because they were like more like dudes, like they were just chill, you know, and they were all on, you know, Primo, Anavar, Tren, fucking, I mean, everything, you name it. And I always would talk to them about it. I'm like, why do you like, they're like, we're not really obsessed with like the femininity. We really don't care if our voices, and these are the ones that I knew. I can't speak for all of them, but they were like, they didn't care. They were just so focused on having that physique that they desired. And they were like, I don't care if a guy thinks my voice is deep. Like that doesn't, and I'm like, what about the hair on your face though? And like your mustache and like your sideburns and your Adam's apple and your femininity. Like they're like, well, if a guy doesn't like it, then fuck him. And I'm like, yeah, but like, what about after? Like, you know, once eventually you're going to grow out of this. I mean, I think you are, unless there's some girls that are like really like loyal to the sport. They're like, well, I just have to live with it. And I'm like, that's like, in my mind, I'm like, it's fucked, because I don't think you're going to want all those side effects. Maybe right now they do because they're on all the gear, like how I was too. I was obsessed with being big and like no one could tell me otherwise. But then when I got out of it, I'm like, fuck being big. So I think thinking later in their life, they're probably going to have, you know, second regrets. But it's funny though that you bring this up, because like one point I always notice is you'll notice that girls' Instagrams that were talking and then they don't talk anymore. It's all photos. I'm like, oh, her voice probably changed. Cause like they'll talk on a video for like their sponsor and they have to, and they're like, hi, they'll change their voice. Yeah. And I'm like, bitch, that's not your voice. Like there's no, like, you know what I mean? It just sounded so fake. And I'm like, these girls are probably the ones that are having voice problems now, because they're probably going through the chain and they're like, what's going on? Like the random squeaks You know, the you know what I'm talking about? And like the ones that don't talk, I'm
Yeah, I
always
know
like,
you're talking about the squeaks. Yeah, yeah.
like
Or
they
it's
just
like a 15-year-old.
yeah, like going through puberty again. Yeah, like it's like I think a lot of them have to regret it though. I mean, they have to. Who wants to? I mean, regardless of what we define what femininity is, it's like what girl wants to feel uncomfortable like that? Like that's
It's not even about whether it's right or wrong, but just people judging them and stuff like that.
so everyone's gonna judge you. I mean, come on, let's be honest. Like
There was a lady bodybuilder, I forgot her name unfortunately, who got like on a meth run in Las Vegas and ended up arrested, and they took a picture of her face and she had a long goatee. I don't know if you've ever seen this picture.
no.
Oh, I just sent this picture to you. So I guess she became addicted to drugs and so on, so she wasn't able to shave. So she was like on the street or whatever.
God damn. Are you serious?
Yeah, proper. I'm going to send it to you. And balding hair here. So that's why I'm thinking, like, what if you couldn't shave for 2 days? Or what if,
Bro, these girls would wax their face and then get acne because of because they wouldn't want to shave. And I'm not trying to get in your business, but like, you're not going to have the razor bumps if you just shave it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I get you want to wax it because it really rips it out and you don't have to do it as often, but like you're getting acne now on your face from like the ingrown hairs and the skin being irritated. So now at the time, this was a while ago. So like it was different, but I'm always like, why didn't you just shave it? I'm like, it looks so much better. Now you have like neck acne. What dude? Now you have like, first of all, their necks,
but it's funny. Yeah.
their necks are wider than mine, or just as wide. And now you have acne on top of it and an Adam's apple. I'm just like, yeah, ingrown hairs. I'm just like, and now mind you, like I have like this little bitch skin. I have like this perfect skin. I'm talking to them and I'm like, this is fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like, my skin's clearer than this chick. You know what I'm saying? Like,
all right. On that note, we'll talk again next week.
Yes, definitely.
There's something later in the week as well, so maybe we'll release it earlier in every week. I think that's cool.
Whatever is good for you, I'm open.
All right. Yeah, I'll send some messages after so we catch up.
Yeah, definitely. I'll get Abdul on and PJ if you want. So
I would love to. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll talk.